Today we're gearing up by building a hammer. Not this one, but another one. Welcome to LarpForge. This year we are again, true to tradition, going to ConQuest next month. So, since you liked it so much the first time around, I figured maybe we should gear up again. So this month, July, I'm going to gear up for going for ConQuest. Which means making a lot of gear. And today I'm going to make a hammer. It's not this hammer I'm going to make, I'm making one for a friend that's coming with us. This is an old hammer he gave me, and he wanted a different design and everything, so he asked me to make one. And this one, it's loose in the head and it's kind of hard. Plus it has a wooden handle. Not a bad thing, but not something I would choose personally. Now he gave me this so I could use the core. I'm probably not going to use the core because I already have an old core. So I'm gonna savor this for another time when I also have the time to strip it down. But let's go outside, it's nice weather, and then I'll show you the materials. So what we're going to need for this build is, of course, the core. And then we're going to need everybody's favorite, some foam. And since I'm not paying for this build myself, I'm making it for somebody else, I went ahead and bought some little more expensive but also a little better foam than we usually use. So I have this here, which is about some thin foam. It's about 3 millimeters thick for details. And it's really hard. And then I have some other foam here, which is about approximately 2 centimeters thick. It's a little softer. I bought this foam from Epic Armory. They sometimes sell out of their foam. It's the same type of foam that's used in their weapons. Oh, it smells like new LARP weapons. But I'm not only going to use this fancy foam, also going to use the old favorite sleeping pad. Then we are of course going to need some latex to cover it with or paint it with. And we're going to need some containers and some paint. Since this is going to be a wooden hammer, I'm going to use it brown, black, a little white. And then I'm also going to use a little gray for some nails. I'm going to decorate on it. And we're also going to use some talcum powder for when we're finished. Contact glue, I think it's called. Or contact adhesive. It's the absolute best thing for gluing weapons together. The old latex sword tutorial I made, I used latex to glue everything together and hot glue. It's not something I recommend, but when I made that sword, I didn't have anything else to use. Normally I recommend contact glue. You could also use double-sided tape, but it's not gonna stick as well as contact glue. Or was it contact adhesive? I really need to look this up. You are of course also going to need some tools, so some brushes of different kinds. And some other types of tools to work with your latex and paint. And then some X-Acto knives with extra blades. And maybe we're going to use the Dremel, I don't know yet. But this is what we're going to need for now. So I might have been a little too fast on the nice weather. It's actually raining, but I'm still gonna work outside. I started by making the shaft of the hammer. And I did that with the sort of cheap foam, the foam I traditionally use, the camping foam. And I wrapped it around. And then I cut it up to sort of look like it was a carved out wooden stick. The reason for me using foam instead of something like pipe insulation, which is very popular to use, is that the foam of a camping foam or a camping sleeping pad, is the name, it's a little more, it's better for this since it can take a lot more impact versus pipe insulation, which is basically made for just wrapping around pipes. I can speak from experience that after frequent use, that will sort of, it will fall apart on the inside. The foam is not built for this type of impact or this type of stress, so pipe insulation just crumble over time, whereas camping foam, well, it might get really soft. I mean, it is built for laying on. Now, the reason for me putting the camping foam all the way on the shaft first, the whole way on the shaft, on the entire shaft, is because when I got to building my head, which was a 3-layer build, 1 underneath, 2 in the middle, I think, and yeah, 1 on top. That means that I'll get a quite large head, and I was going for a large head for this hammer. But for that, I also needed a kind of large surface on the inside so it could stick to something. Okay, and that's why I put the foam on the entire shaft to create a larger surface for the hammerhead to stick to. For instance, if I just stuck it to the core itself, it might have gotten loose a lot easier, and thereby starting to rotate, which is not very smart if you have a hammer. Or getting loose the other way around so it actually falls off after a couple of fights. This way, it will be a little more durable. The head right now is very, very square. So I took some sharp X-Acto knives and cut sort of like an hourglass figure, because that's, I wanted the shape of the hammer. The idea was that I made this large block, because the foam I was using were really, really nice, and it was really easy to cut through. I made this really large block, and then was just like cutting off the foam to get the nice shape, and I got a really nice shape out of it, sort of like a log that was just put on a stick. Now I cut my entire head into shape. It's just a matter of making it a little more smooth, because there's a lot of marks from the knives, because I might not have been that good at cutting it, and yeah, you know the drill. So I took my Dremel and I took the really fine grainy one, not sandpaper one. You're not supposed to leave any marks on it. It will be quite visible on the latex once you put latex on. That's the mistake I made in the old first latex sword tutorial I made. But back then I also didn't actually have all the materials I needed. So here I have everything. The heads, it was still quite hard, so I went ahead and cut like a cup into each side of the hammerhead, so when you were hitting with it, you weren't hitting with the entire surface, you were sort of like hitting with a suction cup, something like that. Well, a suction cup that doesn't provide suction. Anyway, that sort of make the hammer a lot more soft, or not that hard to hit with. Also, after taking off all this foam, it became quite lighter. But at this moment, it was just a matter of starting to put on latex. I mixed an acrylic paint together with latex. I first gave it around 2 coats of black paint. I added some small details, by the way, with some thinner foam. I put on the 2 coats of black paint, added some other small details with foam, like some small nails, where the latex would sort of work like a glue for the very small fine details. I also used the latex to glue some small pieces of cloth to the underside of the hammer, just to create some extra support, since hammer heads and also axe heads and weapons that have a head like that have a tendency to get ripped off, or they don't have a lot of support underneath, and adding a small piece of cloth helps create some extra stability. After that, I gave it 1 more cover of black, so 3 layers of black, and then I gave it around, 2 layers of brown and gray on the metal, gray on the metal parts, or gray silver on the metal parts, and brown on the wooden parts of it. I think it was 3 layers, so it was about 6 layers in total. I should really do a tutorial video just on working with latex because there's so many small things. After that, it was just waiting for it to dry, paint, waiting for it to dry, paint. Yeah, you know the drill. Then just adding the talcum powder and then getting this nice thing here. And as you can see, it's a little white at the moment, but that's just because I need to work with it. Underneath this, I can, however, tell you this is quite nice, and it's probably the best work I've done so far. You can really see the details up here and the cup thing I made in here and the nails, and oh, it's just I really don't want to get rid of it. It's freaking nice, and I hope, now I know the guy I'm making it for, he'll be quite happy with it too, because seriously, this is freaking awesome. Oh. And the good thing about this is, since I'm not paying for the materials, I still have a lot of leftovers. Now next week we're going to gear up a little for my character, Tobias Kettle. Also remember to enter our giveaway. We're still having the giveaway and we have gotten our first couple of videos, but we still want to see your video. You can win a Palnatoke sword, either a footman or a drow lord sword. Or is it a drow lord sword? I think it's pronounced two different ways. Anyway, check out our video. We posted it 2 weeks back. I'm gonna put a link here and in the description. And then I'm gonna see you next week with another tutorial. Oh, I don't want to get rid of this.